Good evening and salutations, my cage fans. Let's start off with Tracy for a hot minute because Tracy brings up a good talking point, and I look forward to expanding this talking point tonight in a live stream. Got no time. Tracy's first, she talks to Boyles, and long story short, she wants Boyles to get rid of Sonny, get rid of his criminal activities, his influence, his so-called stranglehold on poor Charles, right? And Boyles like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. So she cuts his ass a check. Laura sees this, and Laura comes over. Boyles says something snide, join the winning team or something like that. Don't let him take you down. Don't let Sonny take you down with him or something like that. Eventually, Tracy says the same thing too. Now, Tracy took this situation in a very interesting direction. See, the thing about Tracy is that she's very snarky. She's very like, yeah, I love you, but I'm gonna sit there and really be a straight shooter. But did you notice how kind and sweet and like, I'm sorry to do this to you. I just want to give you a heads up. It seemed kind of weird for Tracy to sit there and be using, in a sense, kind of kid gloves with Laura. She doesn't have to outright be, well, I ain't saying this word, be a flat out bitch, but she's never really been one to sit there and pull her punches. Except for in this scene. This is something I just thought about in my head right now. But one of the things that they talk about is Laura's like, you think that the mob activity is going to stop, the crime activity is going to stop if Sonny's not there. Somebody else is just going to slide on in, and everybody's been knowing that for years. How Sonny has sat there and he's felt comfortable because he knows that it's better me than somebody else, much worse. And we've seen that over the years when I've been watching the show since high school. We saw other people come in and be much worse, much more ruthless. Hell, one of the people at the top of my head, Lorenzo Alcazar, Luis, whatever the hell you want to sit there and call him, Alcazar, right? Because he brung in the guns. He brung in the drugs, I think. He brung in the violence. Hell, there was one point he actually shot up Kelly's. Sonny was like, you do realize that your son visits Kelly's, right? So, when Tracy's like, I get it, it's better. Because, Laura's like, who's going to slide in? So, and he brings in a whole level of trouble and danger to this equation. Tracy's like, I get it. It's better to deal with the devil that you know than some unknown one. But I'd rather roll the dice on a new devil. Tracy, are you out of your goddamn mind? Listen, I've liked Sonny, I've disliked Sonny, but Sonny is the safer bet versus anybody else. And the fact that you are so driven with your hatred towards Sonny that you rather sit there and deal with possibly somebody who could be much worse, but somebody who's supposed to be this very smart businesswoman, this just seems purely on emotions. You are making the wrong call, but hell, okay, Tracy, when it backfires and something like that does happen, you start to sit there and see Sitwell's true colors, I'm gonna laugh my ass off at you. That's exactly what I'm gonna do. Now, after Laura, well, before Laura was there, Laura is with Lulu. See, Lulu bought a new house, right? Okay, that's nice. Lulu, didn't you also quit your job? Dante comes and at some point Laura leaves. Lulu's like, listen, I want to get back into journalism and investigation. So I put out a couple of feelers, to the Land Views something. Willow, I know you've been asleep for 5 years. You couldn't have lost that much brain cells. Are you going to sit there and tell me that you bought this house on the condition that you might find a job? Because, that's typically not how adults and being adulting should work. We all know how that works, right? Okay, fuck it, it's the internet. It's always a good idea before you quit your job is to find a new job. Okay? Essentially, you want to have a job before you decide to purchase a house or an apartment or anything. She got the job, spoilers, but I'm just like, wait, what? The conversation, I didn't think it was that interesting, but y'all can watch and let me know. It was nice to sit there and see DVDs. Most people don't actually even have those anymore. Um, Now we're gonna get into what I like to call the toxic stuff. Toxic stuff. So we got Portia and Nina strategizing their talks about evil Drew. Yeah, I've gotten to that point. I've just gotten so silly because I don't care, right? Talking about Drew and what Drew has done, and there's a point where Portia's like, if you know something that could sit there and separate those two, it's funny, Nina, you do know, but you're too much of a chicken shit to sit there and say anything. So, Portia talks about the surgery. The surgery, right? Now, Drew is sitting there influencing him, and Nina's like, oh, well, if it works out, then he'll be a good person. This is what General Hospital is making this, in a sense, this show so toxic when it comes to us, Drew and Willow. So, yeah, she talks about, her and Curtis talking about how Drew is somehow manipulating Kai into doing this surgery that may or may not work. That may not work, right? And, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but, Jess made a comment yesterday. I put it in a pinned comment. So definitely check it out. I think it was in yesterday's review. But essentially, she's sitting there making this, she's like, Portia and Curtis are sitting there acting like they're Kai's parents. They're not Kai's parents. Kai actually talked to his parents, and his parents also agree. But they're sitting there, it's like I feel like they're trying to make them more invested in this man and not a boy. Because people are sitting there acting like Kai can't sit there and have an opinion of his own. So yeah, definitely check out the pin comic because just we may go back and forth about a lot of stuff, but she was spot on about them acting like they are his parents. Anyway, once again they sit there and talk about the evil Drew, blah 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 blah, whatever. There's a point where some woman is sitting there talking to Boyles, right? Nina have seen that person before. I was like, whatever. She walks up to the woman with Boyles and it's like, hey, listen, if you're a model, you're looking for representation, here's my card, look me up. Now, before she even did that, she's sitting there saying that she wants to spring a trap on Drew. When he left, she told Portia that, when she co-owned a hotel that, she's seen her in the business, she had to pretty much kind of, get rid of her. Because she was she wants to call it an escort, call it lady of the night, all sorts of things, right? But, that's what she is. They're going to somehow use her to foil Drew and split Drew and Willow up. Yeah, great talk. Um, Carly is losing her goddamn mind. She doesn't want, long story short, Willow going to see Michael. because she feels that she's going to somehow manipulate Michael, right? Now, up until this point, I can look at this a couple of different ways. I can look at this as Carly, you love your son. We get that. We know that you want what's best. We get that what Willow did was wrong, cheating, all that. Jason's like, you're gonna have to sit there and trust Michael. Stop treating him like he's a kid. Trust that he's gonna make the right decision. Now, aside from her sitting there saying, I'm gonna sit there and take her kids, no, you need to like seriously hold the fucking brakes on that. But she does make a point as far as, listen, Michael's in a lot of pain. They're having like maybe 2 or 3 minute conversations. Okay. If Michael was 100%, talking to her wouldn't be an issue, right? He's a strategist. He knows how to sit there and think 2 or 3 moves ahead when he's 100%. But he's not 100%. And he feels like because he's not 100%, she's going to take advantage of that situation. And on some level, I get it. Somebody's talking to me about something major. If I'm emotionally or physically compromised, that's going to change the entire landscape of that conversation. So I get it. But, at the end of the day, she's also sitting there trying to think for Michael. Michael's going to want his kids. First of all, it's not just his kids, so you need to just stop that. Second, you don't know what Michael wants. The only person who's going to know what Michael wants is Michael. And Michael needs to sit there and have a conversation on some level with Willow. You can be there to protect and guide or whatever, but you can't sit there and make up his mind for him. You can't assume of what he wants. You're going to have to let him sit there and fight this one out until he comes back 100% and you can sit there and help. But Carly has a way of overstepping boundaries. She don't believe in boundaries. And that's what made this conversation so annoying in a sense. I mean, she's taking this on as though they're her kids. Now, Drew and Willow also having a conversation, and Willow wants to go to Germany. Drew has been playing this in a sense of he doesn't want her to go, but he doesn't want it to be too obvious. There's a certain level of control he wants to sit there and have over her in the situation. Right? At his one point, he's like, oh, well, maybe I should sit there and come with you. No. Willow's a big girl. She can sit there and go on the plane by herself. She's been walking and talking and eating and doing all sorts of shit before your ass got in her in the picture. So stop sitting there treating her as though you gotta like, oh, I gotta go with her. I gotta make. No, you need to sit there and sit your ass down. You need to be the actual congressman that you won, and that's what you need to be doing. Hell, there's one point where I felt like he's like, I can't believe I'm sitting there saying this, but you know, Jason does have a good point. Funny, he was kind of fighting her tooth and nail before about how her going to Germany is not a good idea, and Jason brought it up, and you didn't even like the fact that she was having a conversation with Jason. So again, it's like he comes across like he's having concern for her, but he doesn't want to be too obvious. He doesn't want to come across as controlling. And there's a certain point where he just like, yeah, you do what you got to do. Okay, you don't want me going, that's fine. And he hugs her, but he has that look of concern, like he doesn't want it to be out of his control. Um, Brooklyn and Chase bring up the adoption to Lois, and they want to use the agency that Lois used when she put up Dante and Brooklyn's child up for adoption. She's like, oh, Ned comes in, and Ned is not there talking, and they talk about the adoption and everything like that. Lois takes the call, or actually she's taking the call, and she tells her mother, yo, what am I going to do? We didn't use no damn adoption agency. This whole thing is going to blow up in my face or whatever. So she goes back, and she's like, yeah, it's so-and-so, but they went out of business, so, oh well. Yeah, I definitely can't wait for this the truth to sit there and come out. Gonna be it's gonna be interesting. Brooklyn is gonna be on defense about her reasonings and blah 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 blah, and that should be a fun conversation. Almost any conversation is fun except for Drew at this point. Let me just sit there and say this before I go. When I said that the makers of General Hospital are making this a toxic environment, toxic situation with Drew, is that you have Nina, you have Portia Smith, they're talking about Big Bad Drew. You got Carly and Jason Smith, they're talking about Big Bad Drew, right? And I don't know, and maybe this is just my theory, but it feels like General Hospital wants to sit there and play on the level of what they used to do back in the day. Make characters so despisable that you love to hate them. You'll watch them every single time. It's pretty much just called hate watching. Influencers have been doing that for years. Doing the most deplorable things, knowing that people are going to sit there and watch. And General Hospital is no exception. But, see, the thing is, I feel like it's working a little bit too well. Now, if you watched my video before about the whole Cameron Madison thing and the nut job that actually threw a piece of fruit at him, the hell are y'all doing? Every clip that I sit there and watch that's new, even clips that don't even have Drew involved, I always sit there and see some crackheads and say, I hate Drew, I hate Drew, I hate what? I'm like, they're not even in the goddamn clip. I mean, listen, I've never sat there and pretend I missed the sunshine and rainbows and farts and smiles, but I'm starting to kind of miss some of the good days when the clip used to be online and people used to sit there and talk about the actress. Oh, I like the actress. I like the hair. I like the clothes. I like the fashion. And now it's just almost every single comment is nothing but negativity and nothing but hate. And it's just like, seriously? This is what we're doing now? I don't know. I mean, damn, it used to sit there and be somewhat of a balance, but now it's just every single thing is I hate Drew this and I hate Drew that. And I get it, right? Look at some of the other soap operas. I mean, there's constant, I can't stand Victor Newman. He's a bully, blah, blah, blah. But still, it never, even on that level, it never gets so ugly like it does for General Hospital. And I think that's why I'm so fortunate and so glad that people put me on these other soap operas. Because if I'm going to be honest, if I had to sit there and just talk about General Hospital, I would lose my goddamn mind. I would lose my mind. I would literally crash the hell out. No, fuck that. I would crash the fuck out. So many times. Because it's just gotten to that point. Now, I love the show. I've been watching it since high school. Okay? And listen, I like Drew, but I can sit there and call him out on his mess like I would anybody else. Right? Sometimes, like, my God. Oof. I just don't know sometimes. But fortunately, like I said, I'm in a position where I can sit there and watch other soap operas. Because there is just some times where it's just, yeah. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I probably missed some stuff here or there. But whatever I missed, we'll sit there and talk about tonight. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And we'll talk about all the other soaps too. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.